help women save lives and peacefully end abortion where you live.
I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired.
You were serious about that?
Be inspired to change hearts and minds by joining over 1 million volunteers taking part in the global movement happening in your neighborhood.
She says, pray that I can get through this abortion. And I said, oh, no. So she went ahead and went into the abortion clinic. And she just came out. She told us, I'm not going to get the abortion. We just had a baby saved. If we had a baby saved in Memphis today, praise the Lord.
This is the 40 Days for Life podcast with your host, Sean Carney.
Hello, and thank you for joining us today on the 40 Days for Life podcast. I'm Sean Carney, the president of 40 Days for Life, and your host for this podcast, which is dedicated to helping you end abortion where you live. If you do not get it already, you need to subscribe to Day 41 magazine. Go to 40daysforlife.com/magazine and get that magazine to keep up with all things pro-life. And some of the great feedback we get is, of course, the legal corner of Day 41, where you get a wonderful, profound, scholarly, and sometimes humorous article from General Counsel Matt Britton. And today, Matt is our guest on the podcast. Welcome.
Thank you. I didn't know you were so you've been told.
I have to do the proof for the thing of everything we mail out, and so I usually just
and you insert the funny parts.
I changed some of the legal cases. I was like, I don't know, I don't like that.
Well, thanks. I'm glad to be here, and it's been a while, and there's been a lot going on, so I think it's appropriate too.
Yeah, we've got some DOJ stuff. We've got some free speech stuff. We've got some IRS complaints against Planned Parenthood stuff. There's a lot going on. We since the fall of Roe, as you know, we've lost cities for the best reason, which is the abortion facility closes, but we've gained more cities, and the temperature in the room has gotten more heated with 40 Days for Life because we have what I know you guys, the Institute of Law and Justice, update our map, which is a great resource at 40daysforlife.com of your state, your abortion laws, your abortion bans, all of that. But we've had, as of this recording, 26 states pass pro-life laws versus 7 states that have passed pro-abortion laws with putting it in the Constitution. Thank God Florida
We have another map for that.
Yeah, we have another map for that. Florida 1 kind of stopped the bleeding a little bit last fall. But my concern, and one of the reasons I'm so grateful for you and for all the lawyers at the Institute of Law and Justice, is we just have problems at 40 Days for Life in 2025 that we just didn't have in 2012 or 2013 or even 2015 or 16, where the hostility towards us, and people blame Trump, people blame the overturning of Roe, they blame Biden, they blame COVID, whatever it is, but it is different. It's safe. We have legal protection. We have lawyers to help, but the vitriol in our country towards pro-lifers is still at an all-time high.
Well, you're exactly right. And after the fall of Roe v. Wade, praise be to God, it really became very legalistic. And because now it's a question of going to the states. By the way, as we go through this, I just not going to remember to point out, but if you ever want all the resources that the ILJ, the Institute of Law and Justice team, puts out, we don't hide those. Those are for you. Those are documents that you can use at 40daysforlife.com. It has all of the letters, the administrative things, the cases, the attaboys from our clients who are you out on the street. Putting on the armor of God, and wear your armor in court. So if you want to read any of these documents, I won't reference them through, but 40daysforlife.com. You know, Sean, I think you're exactly right that the vitriol has come out and the anger has come out, but it's because abortion and the abortionists have permeated every aspect of society, but you couldn't see it before. I mean, you had to set aside natural law. There's no natural law that says kill your own child. There's no natural law that says you need this much money to have a child. There's no natural law that says you should make money off of killing other people's children, right? I mean, these are things that sophisticated Westerners gave to the Indios, the indigenous peoples of the world. They're like, but don't, as we always say, the womb's supposed to be the safest place in the world. But modern technology, modern sophistication, modern progressiveness, and the end of Roe v. Wade have really shown where it is. And it's not just in our hearts and minds. They have infiltrated the bureaucracies, the states, the cities, the towns, the counties. You hear these people screaming and yelling, screaming at the sky when a local town council tries to just limit abortion. And they never want anyone to say, well, what about fair pay in the workplace? What about taking away my abuser? What about making me safe at home? What about giving me fair access to education? They never want to solve the problems that women, and there are women, really face. And that has become manifest. So thank you and the board for allowing us to put together the ILJ, because we are one tool, but we are going to the courts, to the administrative hearings, and issuing letters on your behalf, for you, with you, instead of you, standing in your place, not just to represent the people like Mark Houck and others that get persecuted, but to, in fact, get ahead of that and change the culture through the law, because Planned Parenthood has infiltrated the law, and they're getting tax dollars to do what they do. Yeah,
we just have fewer problems ever since you say lawyered up, but when we extended the legal arm, created the Institute of Law and Justice, we have fewer problems. We're willing to fight back. I think we got picked on a lot, by Planned Parenthood, or you're told you can't stand here when you actually can. Just all those little nitpicking things that once you have a lawyer, they kind of, leave you alone. And we have good lawyers. We have former prosecutors. We have, a former DOJ attorney. We have Dr. Donato, who's a physician and a lawyer.
And we did that on purpose, right? We have true and honest and wholesome diversity.
Yeah.
Right? People that actually represent people of color, women, people from big law, people from state prosecutor, people from the DOJ, doctors, medical doctors who have prescribed APR, and we know that it works, regardless of what Rob Bonta, the AG of California,
we're going to get to him.
Regardless of what Letitia James says. A couple of things. Just because you put on a black robe doesn't make you almighty. God doesn't wear a black robe. Just because you went to Harvard Law School, which anybody who went to Harvard Law School, you'll know that in 5 minutes. They work that into the conversation with, oops, I didn't mean to say that. Did I drop that ball? Oh, yeah. Well, I think you were at Harvard with me, right? Oh, no, you weren't. That's how they do it. If they can't think of a way, they're like, you went to Harvard Law too, like it's about you. But anyway, I did not go to Harvard Law. But I've been in a lot of courtrooms and tried countless thousands of cases. And I'll tell you that we on the front lines are one tool, but that tool is necessary, I believe, like you said. Gosh, we had some 37 contacts by law enforcement would you like to come speak with us, the year before we did the DOJ, and the next time we had 2.
Yeah. No, once we filed the notice of claim, once we filed the lawsuit against the DOJ, it just stopped. It really did stop, and we're going to get to that case later, an update on the lawsuit on behalf of the Houck family. Let's start, I think, with abortion pills, because that's on everybody's mind. That's the future. What I sometimes have to talk people off the abortion pill ledge, because people still think every FedEx truck, every mail deliver, their carrier, they're just distributing thousands of abortion pills in every mailbox across the country. It's the Wild West. It's being shipped all around. There's nothing we can do to stop it. It's the end of the world. And they want to get to that point, but we're not at that point yet. There are states that regulate abortion pills. There are states that you can be prosecuted. In Texas, they just had an abortion doctor arrested and charged in Harris County, of all places, for doing illegal abortions and chemical abortions. So it's not the Wild West, but in California it is. And the deregulation of the abortion pills is something Planned Parenthood, NARAL, no pro-abortion person or politician was talking about until Roe was overturned. And now we got to pass these things out like they're Skittles. But in California, they want to outlaw abortion pill reversal. They actually should be putting up a statue to honor their own Dr. Delgado, who's from California and in San Diego, and he invented abortion pill reversal. But it's kind of like inventing hydration. He just decided, look, if they take the first pill, it could only help to just, basically give boosts of progesterone and try to save the baby. And now we're at like a 62% success rate. And I've met some of these babies that are saved. They want to make that illegal. It's like giving out vitamin C.
Well, you've taken appropriately a galloping romp through abortion pills all the way to the abortion pill reversal, which I recently gave a talk on it, and they said, we call it abortion pill rescue now, and I thought that was beautiful. Abortion pills.
I do like reversal. My mom had a phrase that if you see a billboard advertising a reversal, don't do it in the first place.
Well, and that's a good point, but not everyone is as sophisticated in this, and I'm sure that she's privileged to listen to all of your talks, which we all are, but some people just...
She loves it when you're on the podcast.
Some people,
shout out.
Some people, and she's a genius. Some people don't quite, have this sort of podcast for time to educate themselves or whatever, but they love those pets, they love those children, they love their children and grandchildren and their daughters and their sons, and they understand what rescuing someone from hatred, because this is all because of the devil. It's not because of Cecile Richards. It's not because of Planned Parenthood. It's because they gave in to the evil one, who's the prince of lies. And read the Bible, as my Bible says, and a murderer. He is a murderer and a liar. And right when you start lying, you can justify anything, including baby murder. But abortion pills, I put from a legal perspective. And look, you've written some great letters, and we've been privileged to add some legal stuff to it and some medical stuff because we have the great Donato Barillo, who's a practicing medical doctor, Haywood Robinson, former abortionist who came to Christ, and Dr. Monique Ruberu on our board that helps us out. So the first issue is abortion pills themselves. The second is abortion pills by mail. And the third is reversing. There you go. Reversing abortion pills through APR, abortion pill reversal. And, quickly, within a minute, broken down of those is abortion pills shouldn't even be on the market. We are a country of laws. We didn't follow the law in 23 years ago. The FDA approved these things to be sent out. They didn't follow what's called the Administrative Procedure Act and other things. If you don't believe me, a Hippocratic medicine case that the great state of Texas filed, and then some 20 attorney generals came in, and it was thrown out on technical grounds called standing, not because they weren't right. So there's another way, right? There's the court of public opinion, and there's also the court of politics. And so you sent a letter. You can see it on that website at resources to them saying, stop the distribution, sale, giving, whatever, of abortion pills. Number two is abortion pills by mail. An abomination. And the only reason that it's allowed, it's prohibited by law, is that Biden wrote a letter immunizing, saying that you wouldn't be prosecuted. There was no legal ramifications of sending it through the mail, and immunize the U.S. Postal Service.
Didn't he do the test run after COVID? Didn't they use COVID
I'll tell you about that in 1 second. And the third is APR. And yes, what these socialists do, and it is socialism, it is freedom marching towards governmental control through bureaucrats and not elected officials these people are 4 and 5 and 6 rungs down. You've never heard their names in the FDA and the CDC and all these things. And love him or hate him, this is what Trump is exposing right now. And he's saying, but we got all this stuff. He calls it waste. But it's really bureaucracy, and it's accountable to no one. It may be good, may be neutral, it may be bad, but they should be accountable. And Congress is, right? And AOC can yell about something, and the conservative can yell about AOC. That is what's called the public debate. But in any event, that's exactly what they're doing, which is they make emergency regulations. So they get an exception to the law, the thing that we actually elected people to do. And then once we get used to it, we die a death of 1,000 cuts and we don't even notice it, and they make it permanent. And that's what they did with so many COVID regulations. So many COVID regulations, including abortion pills by mail. So abortion pills, I'm not going to get into the legality of it, should never have been prescribed in the first place. The risk mitigation strategy that all doctors have to have for those types of dangerous drugs like opioids, that caused an epidemic in our country isn't being followed.
In tragic irony, the first woman, a young girl, poor girl, Holly Patterson, to die from RU-486 in 2003 when they did all this that you're talking about, native of San Francisco, from California.
I mean, you know, it's as though medicine, they just don't care about people. I mean, it's incredible. It's like, you know what? All these patients are getting in the way of medicine. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Her parents, who have spoken out and have said, their point is, we don't want this to happen to another child of other parents. We're not getting into the abortion debate. We're not here saying we're for it, against it, because that'll distract from the fact that these pills are dangerous and they should have never been allowed to be in the hands of our daughter or anybody else's daughter. And of course, they just write those people off.
Let me give you a hypothetical, and this will go from abortion pills to abortion pills by mail. 14-year-old, 15-year-old girl gets pregnant through her boyfriend. I'm not talking about statutory rape. I'm not talking about 16-year-old girl, 17-year-old, whatever. But some young girl, a minor. And she knows that in her state, abortion's banned. Let's say the great state of Alabama. And she knows that she can't get an abortion pill in the mail because that's also illegal. Or she thinks she might not be able to. Can they mail it from Illinois here? Good question. You probably are asking that too. We'll address it later. But she doesn't want to go through all that rigmarole. She is devastated. She is worried. She's not with her boyfriend anymore. Her parents are going to get mad. And she gets on the internet and finds out that 2/3 of all abortions in America are committed by taking 2 simple pills. It's not really a baby anyway. It just expels the tissue out of your body. You'll be fine. They don't talk about the girl that died in San Francisco.
That's the promise, though. It's easy to sell it.
So she gets her 24-year-old pregnant sister, who is married and did want to get pregnant, is going to have the baby, to call up an abortion facility in a pro-abortion state, Vermont, Illinois, Hawaii, California, whatever, and mail the pills to her. And she fills out her birth date. She fills out her gestational. Never does anyone lay hands even on the 24-year-old, who those pills aren't going to, because, you know, a baby's a baby when you want it. It's a clump of cells when you don't. And so it's her baby, but it's her little sister's clump of cells, and she's going to help her little sister, not thinking that she might bleed to get alone in a bathroom, and try to explain that to your parents. Not just did your daughter die, but your granddaughter died.
Yep.
She died killing your granddaughter. In any event, she gets the pills mailed to her, and she gives them to her little sister, not knowing when the little sister got pregnant, because these pills, even under their fake FDA date, are only safe in a very small margin, 9 or 8, 9, 10, before 8, 9, 10 weeks. FDA's, of course, pushed that to 12. Now they're trying to push it to like 22.
But it's 8 to 12. I mean, you got a month.
So she then gets the pills. She doesn't know when she got pregnant. She's 16 years old. She's like, can't remember, doesn't know, doesn't have tests, can't go to the doctor to get to check, because then they would know. So she holds on to them. She's scared. She waits. Now the baby's 14, 15, 16. Finally, she takes the pill. No tracking. No doctor has ever laid hands on her or her sister. Her sister doesn't live with her anymore because she's gone and married. Nobody knows she's doing that, and she's cramping in a bathroom. And for her life, the best thing that could happen is that baby does not kill her, but only dies. And we only have the loss of one little girl, or one little boy and another girl, and it comes out onto the floor of the toilet. And she says, they told me that it didn't have hands and feet. They told me it didn't look like a baby. They told me it was and hopefully she doesn't die, but she might. And never is there a follow-up. Never is there a report. So that's what abortion pills by the mail are doing, and that's why we attacked it. And you sent a great letter, and I hope that we were able to provide good backup legally and medically for that letter. It's not just, it's Sean Carney's opinion.
Right.
That these pills that are incredibly dangerous and shouldn't be distributed at all, which is the next letter we're sending in May, shouldn't be sent through the mail. No. Here is the law, because we're lawyers, and here is the medicine, because we're doctors. So please, Pam Bondi, please President Trump, please Vice President Vance, please RFK Jr., all these people that control these things, please look at this, because we're a nation of laws, and we love people. We love, like, we're going, faith, hope, and charity, and the greatest of these is charity, love. So anyway, so those are the 3 things. We haven't gotten to APR because I've been talking a while, and I know you have some stuff to say, but the third thing is, if you do get an illegal abortion pill, which are being stockpiled by abortionists, stockpiled by, how many does California have? Millions.
Yeah.
In case Donald Trump got elected.
Yep.
And he's like, I didn't.
And we got to abort everybody.
He didn't even say it. And stockpile by sex traffickers. Because the other thing about not laying hands on that 16-year-old pregnant that her sister got is the doctor doesn't see the cigarette burns, the bruises, the beating, the gang tattoo from the mob in some foreign country that is sex trafficking this girl. And it wasn't her boyfriend, and she didn't love him, and she was being raped from someone else's profit. And that's how she, never because they had never even met her, let alone laid hands on her. Are we ever going to see that?
And that's why it's so good the way you laid out that scenario, because there's just no regulation. Your sister can get it. What if, of course, the other thing just with prescription drugs in general, it just gets left out, and the 8-year-old thinks it's candy. You know, no one knows what's going on. You remove parents. You've removed any kind of regulation. You've removed the doctor, by the way.
Totally. It's not medicine.
No. It's absolutely crazy. And you look at, you know, you had kids in school, I have kids in school. You know, they call you 3 times, can we give your, you know, kid a Tylenol or whatever? And they should. And look at how we handle those things. And then we're just going to wake up one day and decide we're going to start mailing RU46 through the mail. 25%, you know, of the women end up in the ER. It's just crazy. So, okay, well, let's kind of shift from that. But I do want to encourage people to go to the map, because we do have there are a lot of states to harp on the good, like Alabama, Texas, Missouri, where they have regulated these pills. There's a lot of state legislatures across the country that are regulating these pills. They have a horrible word of mouth, unlike surgical abortions. Some pro-life people hate it when I say that. I'm not propping up surgical abortions. I'm just saying that the whole, I went to Planned Parenthood, I had the abortion, and I left, that was a much better word of mouth where other people were involved than just, I got these pills in the mail and I cramped for 3 days.
Well, 99% of those people are doing it in the mail because they don't want to tell anybody.
They don't want to tell
And they don't have to.
But when we've had multiple reports of Planned Parenthood workers trying to talk women out of RU46 because they themselves had one, and it was horrific.
Look, not to mention that if you got your girlfriend pregnant and you want her to get an abortion, you're probably not going to be able to perform a surgical abortion, but you darn sure can slip a couple of pills in her drink.
Yeah.
Not to mention murder.
Yeah.
Because that's murder in these states that allow only the mom's privilege to do it, right?
Right.
That's capital murder. If you premeditated, kill.
But that's happening.
Oh, I know.
Like
happening all the time.
guys,
and they don't even know it.
The guy, she'll say, I'm pregnant. What are we going to do? I don't know. And a few days later, he'll slip the RU46.
Oh, it's worse than that, John. She's like, I think I'm pregnant. I missed my period. He immediately goes, and sometimes double doses. She has a heavy bleeding, surrounded by a lot of such, and then she says, thank God I wasn't really pregnant. I just got my period. You know, because it's within 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So it's insidious, and they're not dying a death of 1,000 cuts. They're bleeding to death and vociferously. But we can't leave it until you do APR, right?
Yeah, so...
Because there is a way, there is hope, and we have a pamphlet on it. And it does work.
We hand them out. We have a great pamphlet, but we do. We have a great pamphlet.
Does everybody know it?
And it's like no pamphlet anybody's ever seen before. And so we've handed those out. Those have saved more babies recently than any other thing that 40 Days for Life has done. We have the beautiful signs that say "Ask me about abortion."
It can't, Sean, because California and New York says it doesn't work.
So. What's the guy? Bondi? No. Pam is good.
Bonta.
Rob
Bonta.
Yeah.
The Attorney General of California.
He's bad. He's the one. He's a bad person. And so he's the one that just said, and this thing is poorly written. Like, I don't think he's properly educated as a lawyer.
Well, he didn't write the law,
which
is an abomination.
The law is horrible.
And his lawsuit is poorly written. Because I think he knew he didn't have the facts. It's just like, APR's out there, the pro-lifers are using it, it doesn't work, so I'm suing.
So let me get this litany correct of things that are illegal in California. Distributing abortion pill reversal information. Illegal.
Yes.
Obviously doing it. The doctors.
Distributing the pills.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Doing it. Advertising it?
Yes. That's actually how they sued, false advertising.
Publicly saying that you personally believe it's good.
Yes. we're going to find out, aren't we?
I want him to sue us.
You
I've
beg him
already
to sue
said
us all
that.
the time. I think he's smart enough to know that if you're not actually distributing it, prescribing it, or getting money from it, that it's not advertising, it's your opinion. But for sure he wants that to be.
He definitely wants that.
In my opinion and your opinion, which is right, he wants that.
But he extends it to the entire United States of America. That you're breaking California law.
He did, and if
So you're
anybody
in
does it-
Nashville, you're on Music Row having a beer with your buddy, and you say, you know what's great is abortion pill reversal. That breaks California law. That's how bad the law is.
And when you visit, because I'm sure you're going to get to what's also illegal, and when you visit with your pregnant wife to get on a roller coaster and can't, we're going to arrest you for saying that in Tennessee.
No. No, it's endless. That is absolutely endless.
What else is illegal? When a pregnant woman has had too much wine.
Yep.
When a pregnant woman wants to ride a ride at an amusement park. When a pregnant woman doesn't put her seatbelt on, even though she thinks maybe this will crush my baby if I get into because that's protecting her unborn child.
Yep.
She's like, but I'm going to have an abortion next week. I just ordered the abortion pill. Can I ride the roller coaster? Could you imagine this? I want to make this movie with Siobhan Fell I'd like to ride it's okay. You're right, I am pregnant, but I just ordered the abortion pills and they're coming tomorrow. Now can I get on?
I feel awkward saying this, but I think it would bring out a lot. You know Scott Peterson, who's on death row for killing Lacey.
I do not know him, but I know
right.
of him.
Right. Don't have him over for the barbecue.
Caught at the border with $15,000, and the court said, we find being in disguise at the border with $15,000 in cash is not consistent with innocence.
Like all innocent people, you're at the border with $15K.
Everybody does that to go to Cabo.
And so he kills poor Lacey, his pregnant wife, second-degree murder for the murder of Connor, who the court named. He wants a mistrial, and it looks like he may get one, or a new trial. He may get one.
Well,
don't you kind of want him to get one with California's current laws? His lawyers are going to, if you were forced to defend him, wouldn't you go in and say, Judge, abortion's allowed at 40 weeks, and now Lacey wanted the baby. You know at the time of her passing that she wanted to have, it would become so subjective.
No, I don't, because I'm afraid that he would get out and they would lose and go the wrong direction. And I'm sure they have great lawyers there.
But wouldn't they argue that?
They would.
Because the current law.
They would argue it, or they might not, though, because they are in a fetal position because Trump got elected or they're shouting at the sky. You never know. I mean, and so I trust the system, but I don't trust any individual. If I was arguing it with my guys, yes, I would want that because I could show the inconsistency. But remember, ultimately the court in the Ninth Circuit, which is reversed almost every time, could go the other way and say, you're right, Britton. Killing an unborn child and a pregnant woman isn't a crime anymore. So you can also lose the war. And I also just don't really think he's innocent or like him. And I don't want him to get it.
He's somebody, this is what's terrible about just the way our country works. But whenever he got arrested and they show his mugshot, he's kind of smug. And you're like, he did it. Without hearing any evidence or whatever, you just see his picture. Like, that guy.
I hear tell that when they put him in the penitentiary, either a waiting trial or whatever, they intentionally put him where he would pass by windows where he could see the bay where he dumped her body.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty, yeah.
Sometimes the process is part of the punishment, but no, it's insane. Look, we know it's schizophrenic. You could just ask Governor Newflint or whatever his name is. You could just ask Newsom. Governor Newsom. So, but why is it capital murder when you kill a pregnant woman? And he'll be like, I'm not an expert in that. Those things I'm not sure. Maybe it is an antiquated law. There's never an answer because he doesn't have an answer because it's capital murder to kill a pregnant woman or murder to kick a pregnant woman in the stomach, even if she doesn't die, to kill the baby. It's first-degree murder because you're killing a human being. So they have no answer. All they can say logically, if they kick God out of the room, which they've done, and bad things happen, is they could say, well, she wanted that, so therefore it's murder. I said, so if the lady was going to get an abortion the next day, then you could stomp on the stomach of a stranger and her baby would be aborted, and what would that be, like a simple assault?
Right.
What if you were like, I hate pregnant women, I hate babies, I don't think there should be any babies. Ever heard of an organization like that? And they stomped on these strange, and they went around stomping on strange women. So for all the ones that were going to get an abortion, that's perfectly fine, other than an assault. I mean, it's insane. You can't fix it. You can't fix it. But no, I don't want Scott Peterson to be the case
to get a new trial.
No, I don't. Do you?
No, I want that to be highlighted, and probably a new trial would do it.
You just said you look at him and he's guilty.
Free him.
You didn't even need
I
a
just
trial.
say it out loud. Free him so that we can retry him and do this the right way.
Like on the wholesome side, you ever think of Lazarus? He was the Lord's best friend, and he was there in the bosom of Abraham. And to make a point, the Lord was like, "I'm sorry, brother, but I got to bring you back.
I got to bring you back.
You got to go through this again." He's like, "Lord, you're God and you're my best friend."
Yeah.
So no, I don't. Maybe a new trial would be, but
But the point is, going back to just California, we'll put the pictures of the signs up that ask me about abortion pill reversal. So effective, so great. And I just want to highlight this.
And we did an opinion in California.
Right.
We can put that up too. If you want to see it, it's on the resources. If we could throw that up, we believe that it's legal to be out on the street.
Sure.
And if they charge you, we got your back.
We got your back. Yeah, because people, they're like saying those signs are
They're not
illegal.
charging you. They're
Dumbest
suing
thing.
you.
Yeah, but if they come after you, we'll defend you. And that hasn't happened because they know that they...
And it doesn't happen on any other drug. When you walk outside, and you know what? Botox is now used for migraines. Botox was some kind of stuff they put in to paralyze the wrinkles in your face. But and if you walked out and was like, "Hey man, I don't know, the Botox didn't really help my wrinkles, but it took care of my migraine," and the doctor's like, "Yeah, that's happening on a lot of patients." If you tell your friend that and it works, you can be arrested because it's what? Not sanctioned by the FDA and not true? No, it's only abortion pill reversal that they're doing.
No, they do it with other drugs all the time.
Children's drugs. You know what?
And this
when
is
you go
a
to
natural hormone.
It isn't a drug. You're right. You're correcting me correctly. Thank you. You're like a genius. And you
Well,
do that.
because people are like, well, it's drugs, and it's like...
No, it's a naturally occurring hormone that they prescribe for some 34, 35, or 36, 37 other conditions, including when you have a low progesterone threatened pregnancy, but you didn't take an abortion pill,
And
they give you progesterone.
When we went, if you go back to COVID, which I know nobody's interested in, but when you had these people with real immune issues and they would contract COVID, I know in Houston, you could go in and sign in. I think they were doing it for free for some people and get these vitamin C infusions where you get like 10,000, percentage of your daily needs for vitamin C, and they just basically try to pump the COVID through you by boosting up your immune system because it's weak. It's the same thing. And when they were doing that during COVID, it was pretty cool. And I knew somebody who had to get it done, and it probably saved their life. But that's abortion pill reversal. You're just saying,
Yeah, if you're dehydrated, we give you IVs.
Right.
You have low progesterone, we give you a lot of progesterone. And we don't know because they won't let us do studies on it. And we don't do studies on children, right, and unborn children. When you go and your kid is 4 and have maybe strep throat, they give them amoxicillin. That's not approved by the FDA for children. It may be now, but it wasn't for decades and decades and decades because we never test things on children.
Right.
So they hold that against us. Look, he's the prince of they once lying's on the table, they can argue anything is true.
yeah.
So, but
So
that's abortion pills and abortion pill reversal.
And
We've got some other big issues.
We're fighting it, and let's move to let's do DOJ now, just so we're guaranteed to get all this in. The Mark Houck case, we've sent out a lot of stuff on that recently, and just to catch people up, Mark is out. He's got this guy yelling at his son, cursing at his son. He ends up pushing the guy. The local DA
Previously, right? The guy, they've been out for a decade.
decades. Yeah. So
Tells him, "Get away from my son."
yeah,
The guy starts to walk away. Then he approaches his son again. He's 12.
right.
He's been doing this mess. So Mark shoves him.
Mark shoves him. Local DA doesn't press charges.
Cops don't press charges.
Cops don't do anything. It's Philadelphia. No one cares.
Next day,
Target
target letter.
letter from
Sends it
the
to
DOJ, sends it to you. You're like, wow. He offers to turn himself in.
Well, no, we send a letter to them. He's not guilty of this, but if you do wind up charging him with it, we'll turn himself in.
Yep.
Former U.S. attorney was on that letter too. Email.
They ignore that. They raid his house
two
in front
phone
of his
calls.
7 children. Yeah,
20
2 phone
officers.
calls.
Dawn raid.
Over 20 officers.
No conviction. No criminal record. Doesn't own a gun. Never owned a gun. Never shot a gun.
FBI guy told his wife. She said, "Do you have a warrant?"
Can I
He's
see the warrant?
coming
Can I
with
see the
us,
warrant?
with or without the warrant. Mark actually never saw the warrant. Eventually, they did show it to her after they arrested
They gave her
him.
the front page
After they gave him.
and put a gun 4 feet from her chest.
Yeah.
Her chest.
So he's acquitted in less than an hour. Thank God. You
After
mentioned you
being
trust the
chained
system.
to a desk
Yeah, he was chained to a desk for 6 hours. So
and never told why.
he's suing the DOJ. We filed that lawsuit,
Year ago.
A year ago.
Well, we filed a notice of claim a year ago, which
Right.
they ignored under
Right.
the Biden administration.
And
Never even contacted us.
so Trump gets reelected. You're at the table with the DOJ.
The DOJ says, hey,
we got
weaponization,
right the
we
wrong.
recognize that there are some things, we're going to review this case, kind of a thing.
And
Can't
Trump
get into
ran on the
exact-
weaponization and ending it. We get Pam Bondi in there. We get Patel. I think they're doing a great job. I'm definitely on the list of I'll believe it when I see it because the DOJ is 115,000 people.
Well, they were willing to negotiate. I can't get into the negotiations, but they said, can we resolve this case? We should resolve
And it was a stay. The judge put a stay
Well,
so that
the
you could negotiate.
DOJ said, how about getting a stay? And we had a joint agreement to stay the case. So we had filed the case, and like they should, their lawyers, they moved to dismiss it.
Right.
Right, that's what they do. They were protecting the government from their perspective under a different administration. And we said, we've all agreed to a stay to settle the case. And the judge ignored the request from the Department of Justice and the House and just dismissed the case.
And
So we've
between
appealed it.
all of the lawyers,
Never have we seen
former
not one of them.
prosecutors, the tall building lawyers, the former DOJ lawyers,
Of Mark's lawyers that are involved in the case, I don't know about the DOJ side, but we do have a DOJ guy, Dwight Artis, on our team. None of us have ever experienced that. And that's probably, 200 years of practice of law.
you've never even heard of it, though, of a judge throwing out of a case during a stay?
No, because they want, no, it wasn't during a stay. We sent in an agreed stay. All he had to do was sign the order. And I'm not picking on this guy. Any court would have had to do. A magistrate could have come in and signed the order, just giving time to settlement because courts want you to settle.
Right.
Not because they're such great guys and women, but because it's one less case for them. There's a lot of other cases that they need to get to on the docket, and there's no appeal. So he ensured an appeal, which we have done. But yes, he ignored the thing of all the orders that we sent, consent orders, they were signed within 24 or 48 hours, except for this one.
Here's the problem with that. Number one, Trump ran on the weaponization of the DOJ. Mark Houck is the poster child of the weaponization of the DOJ. And, of course,
A lot of them mentioned his name.
during the fall. During the
Running for
campaign,
office.
For sure.
He testified in front of Congress.
Absolutely. And how great was like Senator Hawley, going after Merrick Garland.
Still is.
Absolutely. Jim Jordan, those guys are fantastic.
Still is. Still helping.
And all of that. And then to me, it's just kind of it shows even somebody like Trump coming in, bringing his people. The Houks were dealing with the weaponized DOJ under Biden. Now they're dealing with activist judges who are just tossing out the case. It just seems like an endless swamp. We're appealing, so we're in the appeal process.
Lots of cases get settled on appeal.
Yeah. No, I know it's not over. We haven't lost, but it's to me, it's just frustrating as an American.
And you know what? The thing is that we believe, and we pled, that the DOJ and its enforcement wing, the FBI, and then they marshaled up a bunch of other people and, in fact, deputized them, federally deputized all but 2 of them, did it as kabuki theater. They didn't need to do it. Why would they do it? Why would they put these people in harm's way? Why would they spend the taxpayer? Why would they spend the time why would they get lost in Mark's neighborhood, which they did, and he had to tell them how to get out to get to the courthouse? Why would all of that happen if they weren't trying to chill everybody's right to speech? And it could be Greenpeace. It could be PETA. Anybody who says anything that we don't like, whether we have a great case or not, whether you get convicted or not, the process is the punishment.
Yep.
You're going to have a paramilitary dawn raid, and it's going to chill everybody else. And, yeah, you may be acquitted. You may be acquitted $3 million in legal fees later, after you've been held without bond, after you've been chained to a desk, after your kid said, don't take my daddy away, he's my best friend. After that damage is done, nobody wants to be, and it worked.
And it's 2%. It's a 98% conviction rate. So when you say
Oh, yeah.
maybe you'll get acquitted, no, you won't.
It's because they give him pleas.
Mark is extremely rare, and
Because
that
he didn't take the
not
plea.
take the deal, and he won.
They offered him a plea to one charge and no time to serve, and 99.9% of us don't have the guts and the fortitude and the courage, cardinal virtues, but he did. And he turned to his sister and he said, "Take care of my family. I'm going to jail."
Wow. And his wife said, "If you take the deal, don't come home because you'll have thrown all pro-life activists under the
Well,
bus."
that's their tool, admitting to a lie. He didn't do it. Anyway, he was acquitted in under an hour, and we sued him, and we'll see where it goes. But there are a lot of other cases, and when the feds have called and said, "We're here to help our local leader or one of our participants in San Antonio or in Fort Collins, Colorado, or I'm making up these places to protect the innocent," and of course, we're the only innocent ones. And I call them back, and I'm like, "Oh, who are you? Who sent you on this? What are you doing? What is the purpose of this? Could you give me an outline of the 5 types of questions you'll be asking?" We never hear back from them. Never. Never. I mean, wouldn't you think that if you're representing the federal government and being paid by tax dollars and you really wanted to hear, like, what are our issues and what are our problems, we're here to protect you, that you might want to outline what you're there for? And we'd like to record it. No. We'd like the lawyer to be there. Why? You don't need a lawyer. Really? So can I have an immunity
the
letter?
lawyer
No.
telling you don't need a
Yeah,
lawyer.
yeah, it's just totally ridiculous. So we have that. We also, you mentioned it, we are tracking, we have a great map of the 10 states that had abortion either way on their constitution, state constitution, which is smart of the pro boards.
Yeah.
Put it in the Constitution, I become irrelevant. But y'all become more relevant.
Right.
More. Because then prayer and fasting is all we have. Once it's in the Constitution, now.
And it was beautiful. We got to plug the abortion facility in Warren, Ohio.
Okay.
After Ohio, which is probably the biggest loss.
That was the time before. That was a year before.
The year before, Ohio was a huge loss. Probably one of the biggest in the history of the pro-life movement, to put it that way. And then to have these Planned Parenthoods still closed because they can't stay open because 4 Days for Life is up.
But the second huge you just lost, whatever that word is Missouri. Because they're attacking the Missouri pro-life, not even an abortion facility hardly, put it in their constitution. And then Planned Parenthood did something smart. They sued through the ACLU, the state of Missouri, to wipe out every law that in any way regulates abortion, arguing, well, now that it's in the Constitution, none of these laws apply. It's a bunch of nonsense, most of it. But one of our members, April Wood, who was elected in Missouri as a prosecutor, was a city attorney, a county attorney, has been using our resources, appointed as a special solicitor general for the attorney general's office. Great attorney general, Bailey, the guy that
in Missouri, yeah, he's
took away
fantastic.
paying rich people's Harvard bills.
Yeah, he's great.
Great guy. Just got Pro-Life of the Year award from Right to Life organization. So she's there. She's got like the stamped, you're a member, the badge and all that stuff. And we are going to be helping them. And Haywood Robinson and Ramona Trevino are acting as expert witnesses in that case to defeat Planned Parenthood in all places. You're right about Ohio, but it's not just, it's the whole Midwest. I mean, Colorado was the first state after Roe v. Wade to give us abortion, and New Mexico was the last before Dobbs. New Mexico was a felony. It went from a felony to on-demand up to and during birth for free, even if you're from out of state.
Yeah.
Overnight. They
Yeah.
went from like general to private.
Yeah. No.
Awful.
It's unbelievable. And it was great. It was an honor for the AG in Missouri to ask.
It
April.
was and is.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be.
And they know what they're doing,
we
but
just
so do
basically
we.
have to protect our pro-life laws, and we're having to do that.
We're helping North Dakota with that ridiculous judge saying that because of they dropped that portion, by the way, that we made fun of, that the Second Amendment protects the right to abortion. They did concede that the judge ruled that way, but they didn't ask the judge, and they didn't say it was ridiculous, but they were like, we're not pursuing that.
We're not
line of
pursuing
argument.
that.
So now they have almost nothing. And
Well, the last thing before we wrap up is sort of the one thing the Institute of Law and Justice has allowed us to do is to go on offense on things that we just wouldn't have been able to do. So they put this in the fun category. IRS violations by Planned Parenthood by doing free abortions at the DNC.
2 in Missouri, 1 in Sarasota, Florida.
Yep. And then in Florida, the largest abortion facility in the state of Florida was allowing the Harris-Walz campaign last fall to use their facility for campaigning and events.
Look at the pictures.
It's amazing.
On our website, we filed the
So
complaint.
our wonderful leader, Rich, and his volunteers, I was just out there. They noticed, because we're out in front of these Planned Parenthoods all day, they noticed, like, they're campaigning. They're using the abortion facility to campaign. So we filed another great coverage on Fox. We'll put those stories up. We filed another IRS complaint. And then all this is beautiful because then Trump gets in and now they're looking into this.
Right. It was we
Reason number
we didn't even
50,000
hear
to
back.
come up.
Maybe it was a bureaucracy until Trump got
Right.
elected and into office, and now they're like, "We got your complaint. We'll look into it." Look, I mean, they take tax dollars. They don't pay sales tax. They're tax exempt, and the law is very clear, and we follow it, right? Fastidiously, we follow that law, but they have an actual like telebank, and they're providing services at the DNC, but not the RNC. I mean, give me a break. So hopefully that'll go somewhere. But even if it doesn't, that's the law, and we're shining sun.
It is, and it's
putting
also
sunshine on.
we have to call them out. We have to call them out. Cecile Richards spoke
And we
at
can
the
do
DNC.
that now. And we
I
don't
know.
have to rely on another law firm or getting someone or getting donor money to hire one or whatever. We're able to do that and pump out not just we think, oh, shucks, they had a Harris-Walz sign in their door. Isn't that wrong?
Right.
No. This is what we have. We delved down. We made sure that Planned Parenthood owned that property, that they owned that address. We got articles in the newspaper that they owned it and what that place was supposed to be used for. We did a property search. We made the case. That's what we do. And of course, we're privileged to send that letter. And you could send it about anybody. You could send it about, a 501c3 about tire tread depth. If they're cheating the system, it should be called out. And the fact of the matter is that because Firestone sent it against a competitor doesn't make it any less true, right?
Right.
But we're not a competitor. We're not a competitor. We're standing up for life, and they're making money off of the death of unborn children, the destruction of pregnant women's lives, and we want to end that. So we're not a competitor. We're trying to put them out of business. We're not trying to take their business. We're trying to put them out of business, but through sacrifice and through salvation, not by dirty tricks.
And as we close out, people, if you are interested in, or you have a legal problem as part of 40 Days for Life, I know 40 Days for Life 365 is going on across the country. Email legal at 40daysforlife.com, legal at 40daysforlife.com. And if you thoroughly enjoyed hearing from Matt, then you will thoroughly enjoy reading Matt on day 41 magazine. So go to 40daysforlife.com/magazine. We've got some cool articles coming out in that. I can't disclose it, but there's going to be some neat.
You could. You're the CEO.
I know. I'm choosing not to.
Okay.
He's still talking. He's still over here talking.
Where's the mute?
So be sure to go and get the magazine. And please rate, review, and share this podcast. And we will see you next time. God bless you.